We're back. It's Friday, June 6th, 2025. We're less than 1 week away from mandatory minicamp. I'm Andrew Duhan. Joining alongside me is my electric co-host, a man that some of you guys know as Jay Ben. He's a former radio host for 92.9 The Game in Atlanta and infamous Falcons insider. Find him on X at JBen _ flight path. Talk your shit, but don't cry when he claps back. Got another packed agenda today, and it's we're gonna dive right in. I want to give a shout out to all of our listeners. We only go as far as you guys take us. We appreciate you guys joining us on this episode of Flight Path. Jeff, Kyle Pitts is rumored to have a muscle strain. Now, Adam Schefter also reported that the Falcons, and this is something we've talked about at length on this podcast, they're not actively shopping him, but they could get enticed by an offer out there. And earlier today, I think Ian Rapoport dropped that the Steelers have been calling the Falcons, checking in on him. And that connection there, obviously, is the Steelers' offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith, was a part of the Falcons organization when we took him fourth overall. And the Steelers yesterday signed Aaron Rodgers. They traded away George Pickens. They could be looking to add a weapon. What are you hearing on your side?
I mean, nothing has changed, man. Like, the Falcons would have to be wowed, which I don't think would take much. I think, like the Cousins situation, teams are really hoping that the Falcons, kind of like we've talked about, right? Like the Falcons, will just take anything for him and just settle. And the Falcons are in a mindset where they're not interested in settling, right? Like they're not willing to take whatever it is. Kyle Pitts, for as much as he irritates fans, he's not a headache in the locker room, right? Like he's not a diva. He's not a George Pickens that's an issue, right? Like the Steelers had to get rid of George Pickens. The Falcons don't need to get rid of Kyle Pitts. He's not a problem off the field. He's not a problem in the locker room. The biggest problem that people have with him is the fact that he just chooses when he wants to play football, and it's not always on a Sunday, right? So, that's the biggest issue. So the Falcons, if you want Kyle Pitts, you're going to have to come out your pockets a little bit. You're going to have to wow the Falcons, and it doesn't have to be a first round pick. It probably doesn't even have to be a second round pick. But you can't offer them some bullshit of a sixth or seventh round pick and hope to God that they take it, because they're in the mindset that he's going to be here week one, and he's going to be a productive part of this team. And so if you want to change that mindset, you're going to have to come out your pockets, and the Steelers aren't doing that yet, right? Like they are really hoping that the Falcons will change their minds. But again, he's not a headache, and he's not somebody that they're dying to get rid of. So if he goes, it will be a haul. They will get a pretty good pick for him, and one that will be worth it.
Can you see a situation where the Falcons need to cover some of that 11 million, or are they not even entertaining taking on any of his salary?
No, if he goes, they're not going to take on any part of that salary. I mean, that's the biggest. I think any team that is interested in Kyle Pitts, you're taking on that $11 million contract. But more importantly, it's a 1-year contract, right? Like there's nothing, literally nothing at the end of this fiscal year for Kyle Pitts. So there's no upside for the Falcons to take that salary. Again, if he's on this roster, he's on this roster. They are not, panicking, going, "Oh my God, is anybody going to take him?" So, from the Falcons standpoint, if he's here, great. If he's not, it means somebody wowed them. But you're taking Kyle Pitts, and you're taking everything that comes along with him.
Yeah, and that the thing that I like, Jeff, when you described it, was he's not a headache in the locker room. He's just a headache on the field. Now, we don't know what he does in practice. Like, is he going like half speed in practices and pissing off coaches? I could see some of that as well, but it seems like he bonds well. I mean, he was out in Dubai with Bijan Robinson, and obviously Nine speaks highly of him as well. So I like that aspect of it. So I certainly don't want to just accept a fifth round pick to get rid of him because at that
No.
point, I rather, see where it goes. Maybe he has a stellar year. And then at that point, one option, Jeff, because a lot of maybe Kirk Cousins' salary is off of our books at that point. I know there's going to be a lot of people we need to pay between Drake London and Bijan's going to be eligible for an extension next year. But if he balls out, one scenario that people haven't talked about is we could potentially tag and trade him too, as opposed to waiting for that 2027 comp pick. So if he really does kill it, he will for sure be the odd man out. We can't pay nine, we can't pay Bijan, and we can't pay London if we're gonna pay Pitts, right? Like it's just not you can't have four weapons paid like that on offense. But in the event that he does crush it, which there's a high probability that he potentially could, then we can just flip him.
Yep. Yeah, and this is again, this is you've never heard anything negative come out of that franchise about him, not from any insiders, not from players, not from sources. There's never been anything negative about him. The guys love him. He's a great locker room guy, and so you're not in a situation where you're like, well, I got to think about the locker room first. That's just not what we're dealing with here, right? We're dealing with a guy that has not lived up to the expectations of being a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. He's not the first one in NFL history. It happens every year, and so for the Falcons. It's a situation where, as fans, we may be irritated by him. We may be pissed off by him. And some of us are just done with him. But at the end of the day, he's still a talent. He's still a really good guy to have around. And so for them, if you want Kyle Pitts, open up that pocketbook, write a check for a certain round that they can have, and you'll get a deal done. But other than that, he will be a Falcon, until they trade him or until they refuse to sign him to an extension, until they refuse to like whatever it is, he will be a Falcon unless somebody comes out and says, here's how bad we really want him.
Yeah. You know what's weird too? I feel like the fit in Pittsburgh's a little weird. So I
It's
know
weird.
Rappaport came out with it, but they have Fryermuth already. They have the UGA tight end, that big guy. I forgot his name, Darnell Washington. Like, it just feels like it's a very crowded room. And then you throw Pitts into that mix. Like, are they going to play him more in like the slot, like as a receiver or something? Because the problem with Pitts is he's not strong enough, like to be like a Gronk level blocker as a tight end. Yet he's not fast enough to be like he's not as explosive as he was in college to really make it as a full-time receiver either. So like that's the biggest issue with him. So I think that it's a potentially an awkward fit in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm Pitts too, it's not like I explode. And granted, Arthur Smith didn't really have any quarterbacks here. He had 1 year of Matt Ryan where Pitts did well, and then he had 2 years of Ritter and Mariota. But like Pitts really didn't, outside of that 1 year with Matt Ryan, he didn't do well. Maybe he can look at it and say, hey, like, if there's a normal quarterback back there, Aaron Rodgers, right? He's more normal than Ritter and Mariota. Maybe he looks at it that way and says, um, you know, I'm willing to go there. But I just don't know that he wants to be like, right now, he's like the fourth option on our team. It doesn't sound like he would be any different there.
No, he wouldn't be. It wouldn't be any different there. And also, who the fuck wants to go play for Arthur Smith? Like, I guarantee you by week 8, I Aaron Rodgers will be like, fuck this. This dude's a moron. I'm out. Right? He will retire by week 8, and he'll come back at the end of the year, and we'll go through this process again next year. Arthur Smith is just a moron. Like, I don't know how else to say it. And I get it. Like, guys get into guys get bad raps. Guys, get in over their heads. His ego is absolutely insane. And that says something in a league full of guys with huge egos, that a guy like Arthur Smith has probably the biggest one. And you would think getting fired and being embarrassed like that would bring you back down, but I don't know that it has. I don't know that it hasn't. But if I'm Kyle Pitts, I want nothing to do with that man again. Like, that dude fucked up the first couple of years of my career. I have zero desire to go back and let him fuck up the rest of my career.
Yeah, well said, Jeff. And I think there was even a situation where Mariota was being interviewed on Bussin' with the Boys, and he talked about how basically Arthur Smith kind of like threw him under the bus or whatever. And like a lot of people, a lot of former players, and I'm saying I'm not taking sides in that one. I mean, Mariota did play like shit. He deserved to be benched, but maybe the way it was communicated to him, Arthur Smith doesn't seem like he's that confrontational type. He probably says one. I could see him being the type of coach, and obviously I have no experience dealing with him directly. He says one thing to the players, and then his actions go another way. Maybe he's afraid of confronting players directly.
Yeah, he's a bitch. Like there's no other way to put it, right? Like when you're talking about grown men, there's a certain way you act around grown men. And NFL guys are grown men, and Arthur Smith just comes across as a complete bitch the way he handles himself. And that when you are in a men when you're a man among men, you can't handle yourself that way, and he does, and that's a problem. And yeah, if I'm Kyle Pitts, I'll take my chances anywhere else. I have, and not that he's going to have a say in it, right? It's not like he has a veto. They can go, you know what, guys, you're going to rescind that trade because I'm not going. He doesn't have a choice. But I promise you, if he did, he would not want to go to Pittsburgh, regardless of who the quarterback is, especially a 95-year-old geriatric like Aaron Rodgers.
So as of June 6th, Jeff, with the information you have in front of you today, your final call on this: will Kyle Pitts, Week 1, be in a Falcons uniform?
Man, that's
It's hard because the data's gonna change. So now, like, people can come
the
back to
data.
this. Yeah, probably not a fair question for you, but
No, but if you'd asked me a week ago, I'd have been like, no, he's not, right? And then things kind of, the fire really started to smoke. And there's always the truth, right? Where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's a lot of smoke around his name right now. And I don't believe, when you tell me, hey, he's hurt, that's why he's not participating. I don't believe that. He wasn't hurt in Dubai. Like he
yeah.
he wasn't hurt. He wasn't hurt doing some of these other things. So I do think that I, I I don't think he's here week 1. I do think that they trade him.
Wow. Okay. Okay. And that's the thing too. Like, it's just so
It's
it
sure to be
come.
wrong. It's just sure to be wrong.
And people are going to throw it in your face and say,
Yep.
"Oh, Jeff is wrong" or whatever. But
Yep.
yeah, it is what it is at that point. But yeah, I mean, I think even Kurt Bankert, our old quarterback, he was probably like the third or fourth stringer a couple years back. Now he's having more of a like social media presence. He does a lot of Madden stuff. He kind of saw the Kyle Pitts situation and said something like, "Hey, when teams do this, when like they're not an undisclosed injury, kind of like out of nowhere, that's typically when people get traded." And I agree with him. I mean, there's a pattern to this. So it's not if he's not gonna get traded, they're at least trying to trade him, which is why he's not come into any of the camps. I think it's going to be very telling, Jeff. June 10th, the first day of mandatory minicamp, who's showing up there? Is Kirk Cousins going there? Is Kyle Pitts going to be there? We'll see. So that date's one that a lot of Falcons fans are going to pencil on their calendars.
Yeah, and obviously we're coming up on that day pretty quick. What is that? That's Sunday. When it starts. For me, if Kirk Cousins isn't there, I could give a damn. He's a backup quarterback, and the more he's there, the more of a distraction it becomes. To be quite honest with you, hey, why are what's going on with Kirk? Why is he still here? And people are going to keep asking the same questions, and the Falcons are going to keep giving you guys the same answers. They plan
Yeah.
on Kirk being here again, unless another franchise, as we've talked about a million times on this podcast, unless a franchise gives them what they're asking for, Kirk Cousins is going to continue to be here. And if that pisses him off to where he doesn't want to be here during minicamp and OTAs and that type of shit, he's a backup quarterback at this point. He's a 36-year-old backup quarterback. I don't give a damn if he shows up until week 1. And as we know here in Atlanta, backup quarterbacks don't get reps anyway. So, keep your happy ass at home. Whatever.